So today we'll talk about the 1% versus the yogi. Did any of you see the title? It was like the royal versus the renunciate. There's a conflict that we'll cover. And no, it's not nothing. Yeah, so I don't really have any slides anyway. So what do you think when you think of the 1%? What are some ideas that come? Elite, exclusivity, elite, exclusivity. Anybody else? Anything? Evil. Ah, the evil. Exploitation. Some of our peers. Anything else? Blessed and cursed. Access. Excess. Actually, I was driving with my wife and my daughter. We were driving here to Manhattan, and they were talking about. My wife was saying that there was a thing. It was saying, "What would you see as privilege when you grew up?" And she said practically everything on the list. Like, for her, it was like if you had grapes, that was a privilege. Like, because she's like, that was like you got grapes on Christmas. She grew up in El Salvador. It was pretty simple. And like, oh, you had cereal? That's like, you're living the privileged life. Name brand cereal, like you're like way up there. So she was just laughing about kind of the excess, but also access, even access to things. You know, that's or like having the ability to spend time with your kids, like go on a field trip with them because you're not like working 60 hours a week or something. Maybe you have that facility or something. The royal versus the renunciate, and the 1% versus the yogi. Now, when you think of the word yogi, what do you think? What are some thoughts?
A system.
System?
A system that you can apply.
A system.
It's chosen to take on a system.
He's taken on a metaphysical system.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yoga is a system.
Okay. Anything else? What do you think? You think of like tight pants or loose pants? Loose pants. Yeah. Okay. There you go. Long beard, maybe.
Someone seeking enlightenment.
Seeking enlightenment. Nice. Anything else?
Balance and moderation.
Balance and moderation. So the 1% may have this mentality that it's mine. This is mine. That's mine. And the yogi may have the mentality that it's not mine. Nothing is mine. That's a possibility, correct? So we have this ancient story from a book called the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a 5,000-year-old book. And it is said to be the crème de la crème, the cream of the cream, the essence of the essence of all the Vedic literature. The Vedic literature covers so much. If you want to learn about how to design a flying vehicle, there's a 5,000-year-old book called the Vimana Sastra that describes flying vehicles. There's science of agriculture. There's all kinds of science of relationships. You've probably heard of the most famous book, the Kama Sutra. And Bhagavad Gita is pretty well known, but a lot of people heard of this book, the Kama Sutra, which is a book on relationships and sexual relationships. You have political science, morality. You have all kinds of different literature. And the Bhagavatam is said to be, is described in the Vedas as the Galitam Palam. Galitam means very juicy and ripe palam. Palam is phala, fruit. Palam, the juicy fruit of this tree, the tree of Vedic wisdom. And so this juicy fruit of the tree of Vedic wisdom, Galitam Palam, has many different stories that flip the script, that sometimes presents. Very interesting and challenging, requiring us, asking us to kind of reevaluate our parameters. Like, for example, maybe some of you could offer some questions. I want to make a list of like 100 questions and then boil them down to maybe 30. And how many of you have seen the monks from the Brooklyn Temple? They do kirtan at Union Square, Washington Square Park. So I want to put a sign, the question of the day, and have like these really interesting questions. So one of them was Lady Liberty, because sometimes they go down to Battery Park. What's the highest liberation? What's the most freeing thing? Yes, death. Okay. And so we'll in that way invite like discussions and stuff. Another one was like deontology versus consequentialism. That might get a philosophy major to come and join in that conversation. And another one was, is God a person or an energy? And someone will say, it's energy or it's a person. And then the next question I'll ask is strawberries or cream? And they'll say, strawberries. And I say, why not and? Why does it, we sometimes have to expand our parameters and not just think of in a very binary form. That there's sometimes, when you're speaking about something that is transcendental, it should be breaking out of the box of the confines of how we usually see things. And so the Bhagavatam often does that. Many times in the Bhagavatam, you have this child, and he disobeys his father. His father is actually the child is considered the intelligent one in the story. Or you have this monster called Vritrasura. He's like described in some other Vedic literatures like a big dragon that fights the gods, and he's considered the most enlightened being in the story. And the gods are considered like very materialistic. They're religious and spiritual, but they're attached to their opulences and positions. So you have different parts where they flip the script. So there was once a king. A king is definitely the 1%. He's the son of Nabhaga. Nabhaga was a very kind of gentle soul. Actually, he went to become a monk. Did you live as a monk? How many of you? Raise your hand if you got one monk in the back here. I lived as a monk for a little bit. Anybody else? Did you ever, Damodar? Did you ever do a monk life a little bit? Okay, so, and his brothers were like, the father left to become a yogi, and then the brother's like, okay, he's a monk. The father left, so it's time for us to take the inheritance, and they took everything. And the brother was done with his training. And actually in India, you have what is called brahmacharya, which is like you go to college, but it doesn't mean you're going to stay in college forever. There's a good chance that you're not going to become a university professor, but rather you're going to leave the school and go on with your life. It's not that you'll be there at the school for the rest of your life. So he was a brahmachari, a monk, but then he went back to his home, and he found out that his father had left. And he said, and he asked about his father was a king, how did they divide the inheritance? He said, well, we took everything and nothing is yours except for your father. You can have your father. And so he went for a long time searching after his father, and he finally found his father. And he says, and he's still a young man, so he's a kind of simple young man. He said, they told me that you're my inheritance. He said, no, I'm not your inheritance. And he felt really like, he said, your brothers cheated you. I was a king, you had all this opulence, but they actually cheated you. But if you go, there are some saints in the forest, they're doing a ceremony, and if you come on this day and assist them, in the ceremony there's a lot of charity that's received and there's a lot of charity that's given. And they'll give you a vast amount of wealth. So that's what happened. They gave this Nabhaga some wealth. And then some person came and said, that's mine. Very dark-skinned personality. And he said, well, my father told me, let's go to, he said, let's go and talk to your father then. And so he went and talked to the father. He said, actually, I'm Shiva, And in this ceremony, everything was offered to me, so it's mine. And the father said, yes, he is right. And he said, okay, my father said you were right, this is right. He said, all this wealth is yours. He said, because you are gentle-hearted, I will give you spiritual knowledge, and I also give you all this wealth. And so that was Nabaga. So later on, Nabaga had a son, and his son was very, very saintly. And he dedicated his life to a type of spiritual processes by which he could deepen his connection and deepen his consciousness. So how many of you have heard about, there's a fast called Ekadashi. Any of you heard of this Ekadashi fast? So it's a fast. Some people do no food, no water. Some people do, they do no grains, no beans, but food and water. Some people do just fruits and stuff like that. So he was following some form of this fast for an entire year straight. So there's no grains for sure. Maybe there was water, maybe some fruit, but for an entire year he was doing this fast, and he was doing all kinds of different ceremonies, and he was doing this purpose to kind of raise his consciousness and also petition to receive messages, receive mercy. And then even certain periods he would go on for like 3 days, no food and no water for like periods like this. And he was doing this very intense fast. And then there was a certain month of it that it was very, very intense. And during this month, he had a miraculous visit by a yogi. And so the yogi, the materialist, what is the mentality? This is mine. It's mine. The yogi, it's not mine. He lives a very renounced life. But certain things take time to become eradicated from the mind. As we mentioned about the mind before we started the kirtan, how the mind is like a restless child. And when it is peaceful, the mind can reflect the true self. The mind is described like a crystal, a clear crystal. It can reflect what you hold it up to, what you hold it next to. Now, when the mind is mixed with certain qualities of this material energy, there's called rajas and tamas and sattva, the mode of passion, the mode of ignorance, mode of goodness. If it's touched by those things, then what comes out of the mind is reflected by that conditioning. Just like if you put a flower in a little thing with water, but you put some blue dye, what will happen to the petals? You get blue petals. It just soaks up what it's around. So although the mind is actually an innocent kind of element, it just takes in what it's around. When it becomes clear of that, then it reflects the true self. Yoga's chitti nirodha. Yoga is the process by which we can control the mind, by which we can see the self in its own true nature. That's a basic definition of yoga. So there are different types of yoga. There is what is called Raja Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga, which is mastery of the mind and body. There's Jnana Yoga, the yoga of philosophy. There's a Karma Yoga, the yoga of dutiful action by basically acting in a very righteous way in this world, but at the same time being unattached to the results. Just doing the right thing without any desire for a benefit for yourself. And that itself also produces a type of clarity and wisdom. And then there's also called Bhakti Yoga, which we'll get into. And we find in yoga, one may become detached from power, from wealth, even from lust. You know, seeing people as objects of your own. I can get this from that person. I can enjoy this from that person. Just giving up that tendency. But anger is one of the last things to leave. And you have these stories of these sages, these yogis, and they might not be prone to lust, or they might not be prone to like envious criticism. But anger seems to be one of the kind of remaining elements that still remains in their hearts. So the yogi is this mentality of, it's not mine. The materialist is, what was the materialist?
Ownership.
It is mine. It is mine. And the yogi, it is not mine. Okay. Now there is actually, there is a unity between those two things, because there is a third option. Once I was at the DFW airport in Dallas, and I found a fat wallet, and it had $2,500 in it, and I went back home to, I worked at the temple, was at some event, and then I didn't see the person there, but I did some research, found a way to contact that person. I contacted him. He said, can you drive it to me? I said, no, I can't drive it to you. He wasn't a very polite person, actually. And so then he came, and he came to my office. He grabbed the wallet, and he just kind of walked out of the room. And he was an Indian guy, a Hindu fellow. I said, hey, go put a donation in that temple box there, bro. So there's another mentality. Is if you find a wallet, what can you do with that wallet? You can say, it's not mine. Leave it there. You can say, it's mine, and take everything. Steal their identity, take all the money. But another mentality is, it's yours. It's not mine means it's mine to give away. There's still a sense of me in there. It is mine to reject, and it is mine to accept. But it's yours means I have no claim of accepting or rejecting it whatsoever. And so that is the Bhakti yogi. The yogi may have the mentality, it's not mine, but the Bhakti yogi has the mentality, it is yours. So there was a surprising visit of this Durvasa Muni, very, very powerful historical sage, lives thousands of years. He can travel to different planets by his powers. Powerful sage and yogi. He's been practicing penances for a very long time, and you find him in the various ancient Puranic stories in India. Durvasa Muni, he's considered a partial form of Lord Shiva. They both share this name, Ashutosh. Does anybody know this name? Ashutosh. You know this name? A little bit? So it means someone who is easily pleased and easily angered. A little spicy character, a little temperamental. I had, as I lived as a monk, I was traveling in a bus in Seattle. We had a bus that we converted into an RV. So the first 2 rows of seats we kept, and the remaining area was all like kind of laminate wood floor. We had a little altar. It was basically like a temple. You could walk back and forth while you're going coast to coast of the U.S., going from the East Coast to the West Coast. You can stand up and stretch and walk around in your bus. We put some like bars on the ceiling so you could, So it's, as traveling was a little, you could stretch your legs, move around. And so we were traveling on this bus, and we had this bus driver who was kind of parting his ways with spiritual life, but he still wanted to do something. But he had all these kind of reoccurring desires that were, so he wasn't really practicing anything. He wasn't doing any of the japa or meditation or anything like that. But he still liked doing service for the monks. He was Ashutosh. He was easily pleased and easily angered. He was a spicy character. One of my services was just to try to keep him awake while he was driving. If it was a little late, tell him some stories, talk and stuff. And one time we were in Seattle, and we were monks, and we were selling books in the streets and the airports. And then we call him to pick us up, and he doesn't show up, and we ended up like stranded monks. And the guys in the airport, they just, of course, they could sleep in the airport. But we were in the downtown Seattle. One of the monks called his high school friends, and he had a few of us monks stay at his high school friend's house. Because this guy, he had like a drinking problem. He went, and he just never picked us up. It was the Ashutosh character. And when he picked us up, nobody made a complaint the next day because he's such a spicy character. Nobody even like lodged a complaint to him. We're just peaceful about it. So this Durvasa Muni, there are many different stories of him giving power of blessings or giving curses. And it is said by one of our teachers, Srila Prabhupada, that if you can live without telling a lie, I think it is for 12 years, you cannot tell a lie for 12 years, then whatever you say will become truth. That's like you heard, like the curse, like the power of your words will carry great weight. They'll actually cause things to come into action because you don't tell a lie. So it actually it affects reality like that. And so the king was doing his fast, and this yogi just appeared there, and the king was like, "Oh, welcome, welcome." And at least in India, in most of our old cultures, if a guest comes to your house, what do? You have to take care of them nicely. You find this in Asia, you find this in the Middle East, you find this in most places that have remnants of old culture. It's in Sanskrit, they call Atito Deva Bhagavan. Atita means on time. And Atita means someone, or just a random person, someone who didn't come, scheduled. Unscheduled visitor to your house is said to be God. You should treat that person with great respect. Even if the person is your enemy, you should not treat him in such a way that they even get a clue of that. A guest should be given at least a seat, something to drink, maybe some food, whatever you possibly you can do. If someone comes to your home, you treat them with kindness. And so he did that to the yogi. He invited him. He said, and the yogi was feeling, actually, he was quite hungry. He said, "Oh, I would like to feed you." He said, No, I have to do my little worship, and I'll shower, and then I'll come eat. But he was a very powerful yogi, so he could understand things on a very subtle level, like a psychic level. And this king, it came to a point where he had to stop his fast. It's called break fast. That's where the word originates from. Is that there's a time of ceremonial that is mapped to like astrological markers, lunar, different astrological markers that they're supposed to do at a certain time. Otherwise, various benefits are lost from not performing it correctly. And so he wanted to break his fast. He asked all of his ministers, "What should I do?" And they said, "I don't know. When a guest comes, you should feed them first. So you should not eat. But if you don't break your fast, then you're also, this is an offering that you're doing to God. You're disrespecting that as well. How should I resolve this?" His ministers didn't have an answer, but because he was a deeply elevated spiritualist, it's described he would use his eyes and seeing the beauty of God. He would use his ears in hearing spiritual knowledge. He'd use his legs taking him to the holy places. He used his tongue in speaking and glorifying the Supreme. He used his tongue in tasting food that was cooked with love and devotion and offered to the Supreme. He was 100% always engaged in spiritual activities due to the sincerity of his consciousness. Actually, he was more renounced than the yogi, although he was the 1%. He was the wealthy one, the powerful one. But he had no attachment to it. It is said that a spiritualist is like a cheating spouse. A cheating spouse may, at home, do everything very nice to not cause suspicion. But they're not doing it with the right intention. They're doing it to maintain their relationship with their other lover. So the spiritualist may be a king, a CEO, a businessman, but not because they love the money. They love their connection with the Supreme. And they're cheating on matter. And God is their paramour. This is a spiritual slut. Hare Krishna. So, this king, he decided, I will take a sip of water. Because in the ancient literature it says, just taking a little water is fasting and it is eating. It's like if you're standing in the doorway. You're inside and you're outside. It's neither here nor there. It could be one or the other. And immediately this yogi, as soon as he took a sip, he was aware due to his yogic powers. And he appeared there. And he said, you're just a materialist. All you care about is yourself, and you don't respect the yogis. And he decided, he took out one of his dreadlocks and he slammed it to the ground and pronounced a curse, and this monster appeared. Many of you have seen a picture of Vishnu. He's got with 4 arms. And he's got a club, a lotus flower, a conch shell, and he's got a disc. Like the kids put a CD on the finger and they pretend to be Vishnu. So he's got this kind of ring of time. This ring, it's like a blazing fire ring of time. It's the ultimate weapon. Like say somebody, if you're watching some anime and a character has like a time weapon, it's like you throw anything at it, it's like it's destroyed. Like, give it 1 billion years, whatever explosion, this or that, it's all gone. The time weapon wins. And so this weapon also appeared in a personified form and started to chase the monster and destroyed it, and then started to chase the yogi. And this yogi was running about trying to escape the destruction of the Sudarshan Chakra, the discus weapon of Vishnu. He traveled to the abode of Brahma. And Brahma says, I am incapable of helping you. You better see Lord Shiva. And he went up to the abode of Lord Shiva. And Shiva said, I'm unable to help you. You should approach the Lord himself. We're all under he is in charge of everything. And he went to the Lord Vishnu's abode. And Vishnu said, I can't help you. My heart is sold to my devotee. My entire being is completely theirs. I am their helpless servant. And if you come to harm them, then my weapon of time will harm you. Like it says in the famous Vedic Dharma Rakshati, for those who protect righteousness, righteousness protects them. And those who destroy righteousness, righteousness destroys them. He says, my heart is is sold onto this devotee. Only he can protect you. And so then he went to the king and he offered his respects. And the king said, I have no desire to harm you. And he started to say these prayers and convince this Sudarshan Chakra, please, if I have done anything spiritual or pious or anything good in my life, do not burn this poor priest, this poor yogi. And the yogi was saved. So this is the mentality of not just it's mine or it's yours, or it's not mine, but it's actually everything is yours. If I have a guitar, I can take that guitar and use that guitar to sing some kind of song that has some egotistical element to it. It could be not just the ego of the self. Maybe it's the extended self, me and my family, then me and my neighborhood. You know, I'm in Flatbush. That's where I live. You know, it's my neighborhood. Or then it's me and my city, or my nation, or my race, or my country. The extended selfishness of the self. We extend it out further. And we find that also, actually, people who extend themselves further, they do find themselves more satisfied. If you just work for yourself, not so happy. But if you do something for your family or for your country or your society, there's some more satisfaction. But if you extend it to the entire border, to offer it back to divinity, that actually nothing is mine. There's no outside of this circle, because this circle includes everything. Divinity is a thing that has, its center is everywhere, and its circumference is nowhere. So it encompasses everything. So you offer back to that. It is like when you offer water to the root, or you offer food to your stomach. The mentality, it is mine. Just imagine if the hand could think for itself. And the hand, they talk amongst each other and they decide to go on strike. They're like, this guy, what does he do all day long? He just eats and he just gets bigger, and you know, why should we just slave away working for him? We should actually enjoy it on our own. We could take this stuff for ourselves. And so we see Chelsea. She's comes to Soul Talks, and then we're about to eat, and then you see her. She's like, rubbing the rice and beans on her hands, and they're like, it's a little interesting, Chelsea. What's going on here? She's like, I can't control. They're on strike. They're not really. My hands aren't following what I want them to do. Now, if the hands were on strike like that for a week, how would you feel? They're you probably feel very hungry. Yes. Maybe not just hungry. You are weak itself. You are full of lethargy. You have no energy. And the hands themselves, they actually have an emergency meeting. Something's wrong. We thought this would be a good idea, but we don't feel good. And so they have another meeting, and they decide, let's go back to feeding the stomach. And automatically there's some energy that comes. There's some result that is there. Or if the water is coming down and it's just being held in the leaf, it's not helping the leaf. But as it's getting closer down to the root, its potentiality of actually doing something for the leaf is increasing. So when the energy is given back to the root of everything, then it actually nourishes the self. So it's not mine or it's mine is a tendency of thinking that, not realizing that there is another owner. So I can use the guitar in egotistical way of central egotism to extended egotism, or I could reject the guitar and say, this is not mine, or I could offer that energy, that talent, that ability to the source of that ability. I could use my guitar and sing songs that raise the consciousness of everyone back to that source. So it's yours. That's the bhakti yogi mentality. It's not mine. It's yours. Like we say, if you ever go to India and they're performing these fire yagyas, the agnihotras, where it's like they're throwing grains into the fire, they're chanting mantras. Idam nishingaya swaha. And then everyone says, swaha, idam namama. If you ever go to an Indian wedding, this is what you'll hear. Idam krishnaya swaha, idam namama swaha. And then everyone says, swaha. Yes. Initiation, yeah. All the different ceremonies, of important ceremonies. So what I say, idam krishnaya swaha. This is yours, Krishna. Idam namama. It is not mine. That's the offering. So there is a not mine, but the true understanding, it's because it's yours. You have a company car. You can take it out and do donuts in the street. Or you can exploit it. You could just neglect it, just leave it somewhere. Or you could just use it how it was meant to be used. Offer it for this company's sake. Everything that is meant for the company, use it for the company. It's like if you're working in a bank, you can count millions of dollars, but as soon as you think, this is mine, a little in the pocket, then there's the karma, there's the trouble. But if it's yours, so for the person who is simply practicing the path that is disconnected from this sense of it's yours, a devotional connection. Say you are a yogi and you go to a cave to meditate. You've left family aside, you left career aside, and you decide, you go up to the cave to meditate, and you decide up there, man, I want a girlfriend or boyfriend. Or what is the yogi left to do with that desire? What option does he have? He can try to repress it. In that path of renunciation, the only step is to go back to material engagement, to walk away from that path of renunciation. But in bhakti, you don't have to give it up. It's like you don't have to give up the guitar. That same thing can be connected to divinity. I can have a family and be perfectly spiritually minded, because that doesn't have to be disconnect me from my source. I can say this is not mine, it's yours. Let me take care of it in this dedication. Does that make sense? Whereas if the path of spirituality is simply a path of getting away from everything material, then if I'm not there yet, then I'm going to struggle, because actually what is material it's described in the Vedas that there's a word called dvaita. Not advaita in the sense of philosophy, but dvaita, when you see something as separated from God, that this is mine. Yeah, that it means that you're not seeing how it's all connected.
That's what I was going to say earlier. Can't you just offer it back to the divine? And be like, I have this desire, but you trust that it'll happen.
Yeah, that's true. That's if you're approaching the divine in that devotional sense. But if you're trying to do it on your own as like maybe a more impersonal spiritualist, where it's just you trying to disengage from matter, but if there's still some desire in the heart, then your path is disengaging from matter. So you either have repression or just going back to your material engagement, so that you're kind of stuck in that way. Whereas the bhakti yogi doesn't have to disengage to be spiritual.
You are in matter, you are inside a body. Why escape?
Exactly. Yeah, you're in a situation, so you just use your situation as an offering. So that's my little presentation. I will stop here, see what reflections you have, anything you want to take home with you, like what's in your doggy bag for today, and whatever questions you may have. So we'll start on this side of the room. Yes.
Undesired. So, if it's not one or the other, to release desires, indulge in them. Is that what I?
Not necessarily indulge in them. Like in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, one who eats too much or eats too little is not a yogi. So there is a path of understanding what is indulgence is a sense of atyahara, over consumption, over collecting, over endeavoring. But rather, you can engage those things, but you engage it in connection to divinity. So if you want to, like instead of, like the yogi traditionally will eat tasteless food. They'll just have like roots and stuff they find in the forest. But the bhakti yogi can cook delicious things, offer it to God. And that same detachment from my enjoyment comes from that sense of, I give it to you. That when I please you, myself, my deepest self becomes pleased. When I water that root, then I become satisfied because I'm a leaf on that plant. You had a question.
You answered.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
It was about the indulgent part. Like, because what if it's about inclusivity? You're not doing it from that illusion of separation from source, Krishna, God, whatever. You do it in unison.
Yes,
But
yes.
it's perspective too, right?
Yeah.
I just thought indulgence could be also like what about like a pass? Like you indulge someone, it's like you give them a leeway, an extra little, you know what I mean? Like a pass, but it's separate.
Okay.
That's why I already answered.
Thank you. What else? What other? Chelsea. What will you take home today? Anything?
I felt like I needed to hear that like your mind innocently just like absorbs everything around you. I've heard it before, but I felt like I really needed to hear it today.
I think the Krishna says the mind is the greatest friend when it's placed on what is meant to be connected to. And it's the greatest enemy when it's uncontrolled. Just like if I'm driving in San Francisco, all these hills, and I say, this steering wheel, it's my friend, and I just let it go. No. It's your friend when it's under your control. So when the mind is, originally it's directed. It's like when it's placed upon, you take your intelligence, you grab your mind and put it. But the mind's tendency is it wants to grip onto things that it's attached to. It's sankalpa vikalpa. Attachment, I like this, I don't like that. I like this, I don't like that. I like this, I don't like that. But the mind is the real thing. The mind is a seat of emotion. So if you think about somebody who has a relationship, what's the better relationship? Someone has a relationship, they love somebody because of the loving feelings they have, or the intelligence. This person has 3 million followers on Instagram, and I like them. So you have the intelligence and the mind. Someone likes God because they have some intellectual understanding rather than they actually have a heartfelt feeling. But the mind, right now, it's attached to all the things that commercials have been fed to us. There's all these things floating through the mind. You're like, what? Why? It's like, well, you've been watching commercials your whole life. So then we use our intelligence. But eventually, the mind becomes clear. And when the mind is clear, sattvam yat brahma darshanam, then we actually see our object of affection. Just like if we're looking out the window, might not be out there yet, but we see everything clearly. So that's like the clear mind. Yes?
What if the mind and heart are in conflict? Like, for instance, you love a person, holy as they are, but that person's lifestyle and choices it's actually not good for your mind. And I can speak clearly, like as someone who's a substance use disorder, it's like in certain cases, it doesn't matter how much you love them with all your heart, because they're enslaved to that disorder, right?
Yeah.
So my mind still wants to attach, but it's not really. It's almost like it then would destroy my heart, right?
Yeah.
How does one resolve these types of conflicts?
So yeah, when we use the word mind in yoga, it's usually like it is the heart, that seed of attachment. And I think the conflict you're saying is the mind and the intelligence. Isn't it? Like one is saying, no, this you're attached, but your intelligence saying maybe this attachment's not very good, even though you have that care. So it is only in the final stage that we're really directed by the heart completely. In our leading up stages, we definitely have to take advantage of intelligence, spiritually guided intelligence. So we don't want to give up, not have a heartfelt practice, but it's led by intelligence. And how can we cultivate that intelligence? How can we? One thing is you find at least 3 other people who you respect how they live. You see how they, and you inquire from them, because it's just we might be attached, like everybody, like there's some guy or some girl gets in a relationship, everybody's like, no, this guy's bad or this girl's bad or whatever, and but they've got the blinders on, they've got the horses, like their mind is attached. But if they maybe took some advice from somebody who was outside of that attachment, that didn't have the colored glasses, but someone that we respect, like if you're going to get a relationship advice, then find somebody who's in a good relationship. So if you want some spiritual advice, find someone who has a good spiritual, honorable practice and honorable life, and then also by like these literatures, it's like I was kind of leading you to think that the yogi was like the really good guy and the 1%, but we can see it helps us to like kind of see out of different parameters. Like this is the king, the very opulent, very wealthy person, politician. He's a politician. Was the deeply spiritually minded person in this pastime, and so. Reading literature like this can help that refine the intelligence, so it can.
On the essence of the soul and what the soul came to do. If you have souls that are meant to be politicians to do the groundwork, and others be like, oh no, I'm going to go to the forest and pray all day. That God doesn't need prayers; He needs people that are actually doing the work.
Yeah. Everyone has their just like a body has different parts that are useful. So the head is contemplating, the arms are protecting, the belly is distributing the goods, the legs it's moving the whole system about. So you have different parts of society, and they all have their contributing factor.
So the 1% is not 100% bad or evil. It depends on the person's level of evolution and consciousness.
Absolutely, yeah. 1% generally in America, that's like the business people, but they're like the stomach. They're what keeps the goods being distributed. Or the politicians. Those are meant to be like managers or protectors, like the arms. The best would be a society that had some intelligence, though. We kind of are led more. Our society is more led by the business, kind of financial. It used to be led by more like politicians. Now it's mostly led by financial. But ideally, you would have spiritually minded ministers that would not be in positions of power, but would guide those in power. And they would not even be paid. They'd live on like charity. They would just in that way they cannot be influenced by they're, someone could say, well, if you tell me things I don't want to hear, we're not going to pay you. Well, you're not paying me. I live a very simple life. That's how the kind of ancient system was that those who were giving guidance, kind of the head of society, did not have any power or position. They were just leaders intellectually, just like sober-minded leaders. Thank you. And then we come to this side of the room. Ashley.
I am contemplating what you're saying a lot. I think especially in our modern context and my view of who the 1% is and how they contribute, I find it mostly negative and ego-driven, and so I see this like contradiction between this sort of bhakti way of living to say like this is yours, while seeing people live with such excess and with such greed, and I don't see how those. I believe that like if you were to really see that, then you wouldn't be in that position to begin with.
Okay. So we can become the 0.0000001% and give guidance to such people. I'm not saying that the 1% in America are the spiritually minded bhakti yogis of this world, but there are people that have different karma, that a person could work 10 hours a week and make $1 million a month. That's their karma. They'll just come to them. And somebody somebody is, I'm sure, more intelligent than Bill Gates, more different creativity ideas, but he just doesn't have the financial doors open to him like that. And it's people are carrying karma from past life that leads to their success. What they do with it, that's we can kind of look at that now, but how they came successful, everyone's carrying their own karma. And everyone has also their own quota. What is too much for me might be too little for you. Or what is too little for me might be too much for you. Like my wife, she says, they told her when she got her astrology, they said, you have a champagne taste on a beer budget. And he said, you don't like ugly things. You like either nothing at all. You would rather live in a house with nothing than like ugly furniture and stuff. So we've always been like not big income, but if you come to our house, you're like, Phil, oh wow, this is such it's got the great vastu, great feel to it. You feel like at peace, you feel at home. And she said, and when I have everything is nice, then my mind is peaceful. If I just live with like just any random ugly furniture, I don't feel, my mind just feels so just scattered. I need things like to have some sensibility in like the design. She went to actually the FIT, like design school and stuff. So that everyone has their kind of karmic quota, and so there is a verse in the Ishopanishad, and it says, one should know what one's quota is and not take more than that, knowing well to whom it belongs to. Ishava sham jagat sarvam yach kinchit jagatam jagat tena takteda bunjigita makashchit swidhanam. So that quota may be different based on, like I know the grandson of Henry Ford. He's a disciple of our teacher Srila Prabhupada, and he's built beautiful temples around the world. The temple that I originally went to in Hawaii when I was 14, he bought that for the devotees maybe 40 years ago. He put it on a $1 lease for 100 years, and I think then they own it at the end, so that they don't even have to pay taxes. He takes care of the taxes, and they pay $1 a year for their rent. And he's very wealthy. He uses that wealth, though, for charity. He does a whole lot of charity. Actually, charity, there are 3 things that Krishna says are never to be given up. Charity, what is it? Discipline, austerity, and what was Yagana Dana Tapa.
Sacrifice,
Yeah.
austerity, and charity.
Sacrifice, austerity, and charity. Because we are all charity cases. Nobody learned how to walk and read and eat and do. We never learned. Somebody did something for us that helped us to get where we're at. Our ancestors did things for us. The devas do the light bill and the water bill. They do all these things for us, and so we're meant to offer back. We're all charity cases. Oh, thank you. Oh, please. Yes.
No, I just, I think too, like, the 1% are probably where they are because we're contributing to it, right? Like, social media, if none of us participated in any of those posts, Mark Zuckerberg would not be.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so it's kind of like, it's difficult to remove the us versus everything, but I don't know what I would be like if I were 1%. And I'm sure there's people out there who collectively are a lot meaner than those we see.
And you find the practically every person who wins the lottery becomes like, it ruins their life.
Yeah.
They lose all their friends, and they themselves become financially, they become bankrupt after winning the lottery. So not, yeah.
I remember, can I get one question?
Yes, yes.
She's done. Were you done with that? Yes?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. When you were talking about the 3 different
Gunas?
creating a parallel between your topic was the royal and the renunciate, the 1% and the other.
Yes, yes.
So it's about like this non-binary spectrum of a wholesome inclusivity. There's variety in life, and that everything offers inherent value to the greater whole, which is source. So when you broke it down with the form of relationship or connection of this is mine, this is not mine, and then the curveball was this is mine. I tried to fully understand
Okay.
it, but I didn't.
So I think the simple one is like the guitar. It's like, it is mine. This talent, it's mine. Then the other one is like, no, I want to be spiritual. I want to give up things. I want to just be renunciate, and I give it up.
But even in that giving up, there's a form.
It's
of
mine to give up.
ownership to give up.
It's
Right?
mine to give up.
Exactly.
But then the last one is like, actually, this talent, it's coming from you. It's yours.
Got it.
So I'm offering it back. I found this wallet. I'm giving it back.
Right.
Yeah. So it's your, everything is your energy.
So now to my question. Your as in
Not mine.
All of ours, but it's inherently in
Big
us.
why.
That's where I was going with the question. Isn't that like recipe or guidance or direction, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Like the seed of an oak tree has inherent wisdom to develop into whatever, the oak tree. That third form of relationship with ourselves in life, isn't that inherent in all of us? And if so, then we should be looking at it from a frame of like what really blocks that creates the extremism and disparities of where people feel disempowered and other people feel empowered. But just as the sun shines for all of us, some look up and receive it and look like wacko in New York, but other people could take 2 seconds before walking into Bhakti and like look at the sun and receive it. I feel like, isn't that inherent in all of us? And if so, isn't it more proactive to question within ourselves as to why we don't?
Yeah, it's good to question. Just like walking is inherent in the child. But it's natural. But there is a stage of practice. So there is a stage where they're learning to walk, but it's inherent. It's there already. But it looks like endeavor in the beginning. So there's some kind of focus, endeavor, questioning. And part of that endeavor is to eat delicious food that's been cooked with love and devotion and offered to divinity. And so at this time we'll switch over to I think everyone's favorite part of the event. Om Tat Sat. Thanks a lot. Hare Krishna.